Maybe we should start with that. Right, we're live, Kate.
Hi, everyone. Sheena
Hi,
and I have just been
everybody.
waffling behind the scenes about tarot decks and readings and things. We actually drew a card um, before we started, and so we're just refreshing ourselves as to the meaning. What deck is this from? It's from my favorite deck, the Wildwood Tarot, and it's the
Yeah,
Six of Arrows. Is it the six?
yeah,
Mm.
six of arrows, and yeah, transition. So, what kind of transition are you going through, Kate, at the moment? Do you think?
The same one that I always seem to be going through, which is trying to manage what I want to do with what I'm capable of doing.
Oh, really?
So, moving from what I call the magpie plan, where everything is shiny and I want to do all the things, to moving to the sensible plan, which is being realistic about time and energy.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Which
yeah.
I
I
always
know.
find hard to manage because I get super enthusiastic about it so much and I have so many ideas. And,
Mm.
they're all brilliant ones, of course.
I know that's the problem with having so many ideas, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, we got some people turning up. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Let me turn
Hello,
on my comment thingy.
Portugal, Nova
Oh my
Scotia.
goodness.
Where's Nova Scotia?
I don't know, but it sounds cold. Nova Scotia.
It does sound cold. Where's Nova Scotia, Catherine? Tell us. Hello, Linda. Hello, Katie. Hello, Anna. Helen. Hello, Valentina. Hello.
It's in
From where?
Canada. Of course it's in Canada.
Oh, it's Canada. Really? Oh,
We knew that. You've got late evening brain and I've got early morning brain, so we're not on
no.
firing on all cylinders yet.
Well, forgive ourselves.
Especially as I forgot to bring a coffee here.
Oh no. Do you want to go and get one?
I don't think so. It'll take about 5
Out with your
minutes.
own program.
Oh, that one was interesting. Kate was away getting coffee the whole time. From Essex.
Essex, Nova Scotia, Eastern Canada, Canada. Oh, blimey, we've got a few from Canada. Couple from Canada.
No, that's
Yeah.
Catherine. She's telling
Oh,
us where Nova Scotia is in Eastern Canada, which is good to know.
okay. So yeah. So what are we going to talk about tonight then, Kate? We've started off with a card. You've just said about being realistic. And does that involve saying no when you sort of have to rethink your plans? Does that obviously involves saying no to a few things that you've said yes to in your head? But
It involves, that's mostly the whole process. Saying no.
well, you know what? That is actually, I lied when I said that I wasn't prepared tonight, because I have got one thing written on my notepad. Oh, I can't make it look. And it's saying the creative no. How about that? Prioritizing, saying the creative no. And for me, that has been, because I think I did mention it in our last chat. I was talking about going to see a retreat venue. I'd already been to see one, and that was definitely a no. That was a definite creative no from them. And I went to see another one. Had I been to see it? I don't think I had been, had I? Had I been to see this other venue?
No, I don't think so. I think that was
No, I
recent.
went to see it, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, not last weekend, the weekend before. And it was lovely, and it was just down the road, and it was local, and beautiful location, just looking over onto the river, 14 bedrooms, quite expensive. I was going to go in with a friend, and we got all excited about it and talked afterwards about, yeah, we were going to do it and we were going to put it on. And then that is me being a typical Sagittarius, impulsiveness. And I sat on it for a couple of days. We deliberately didn't book anything. And I sat on it for a couple of days, and I kept waking up, not kept waking up, but I was waking up in the mornings and I just had doubts. I just had too many reservations. And I thought, hang on a minute, this is not something that you, just do on the side. I'll just put a retreat on the side, just to whatever, while I carry on with everything else. And I thought, no, putting on a retreat is a big job. And
Gosh, yes.
yeah, I just and as much as I would love to do it, and maybe in the future, yes, when the timing is right, but the timing is just not right at the moment. And particularly if I want to get on with this next book,
I think we have to do that a lot, just
Yeah.
not even for big things like that, but managing our time and our energy is a big deal.
Oh,
I mean, I'm always coming up with things that I want to do, but I try never to make the decision straight away because you need to think about it. You need to sit down and say, can I actually do this? Is something that I can do and sustain?
yeah,
And
that's it.
often the answer is no, not at this time. I have the added bonus I also go to Valerie and say, "Can I do this?" And she will either say, yes, or she'll say no. She she's very good at saying no.
And she
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 goes,
knows you better than you know yourself.
"Yes," she does.
Mm,
Well, we both know me very well, but it's good to have, a second voice that says, you need to stop and think about that a bit more." And I'm actually getting um, a lot better at this. I've learned to manage things so much better. I think also when you have chronic illness, it becomes really important to do that, to stop and consider what you'll be able to do and how
yeah,
much you want to add to what you're doing already, especially when you're self-employed as well. That makes it because you do want to do all the things.
yeah, yeah, of course you do. And
I
and
think you,
writing and being a writer, and being an independent writer, publishing yourself, you've got to do even more things, haven't you?
mm, although I think traditionally published writers these days have to do quite a lot too, all their
Yeah,
own marketing and things.
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're
Mm.
right.
And I think marketing's the big thing that takes up a lot of headspace to learn it in the first place.
Yeah, I have
And
just
to
had a full day. Is my voice echoing? I don't know if I should use this microphone or not. No, maybe. Oh no, I just thought there was an echo then, but it's not now. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. What was I gonna say? Oh my God. Yes, we've been in the studio all day editing the next podcast episode. And it was an interview with a witchy a business witch, basically. She's a marketeer. She came up on my timeline or feed, whatever it was, on Facebook a couple of months ago. You know how these people just appear from outer space. And you think, oh, that looks interesting. And she's such an interesting, quirky character. It was immediately drawn to her, and the fact that she's a business witch. She teaches marketing to spiritual people, and
Mhm.
witches and weirdos, as she calls it. And so talking to her was really interesting, because she comes from a background of copywriting. She's been in marketing all her life, and of course, magic's come in. She's been interested in the occult. That's coming as well. You'll have to listen to the episode. We're going to bring it out next week. It's a really interesting episode, but I love the way she explains about marketing and about business. I just love the way she's very grounded. And basically, she was saying that this is the manifestation part of a money spell, is your business work, because you do all the creative work, wonderful. But if you're not going to put that into some kind of a plan and a strategy and whatever else, and implement what you need to do to get your offerings out, whatever your offerings are. And I think our offerings are our books, aren't they? Mainly, then you ain't going to get any money, basically, is what she was saying. You've got to put your plans into action. And like, as you say, yes, it's getting the balance right between doing the actual creative work and then putting that out, setting the right systems up so that people will see that. I love your braid, Catherine.
Yeah, I guess this is probably the first time anyone's seen my hair. It's getting really long.
Very long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um,
How about I just do a wee bit of an update of what I've been up to?
yes, please.
Because I had a meeting about the screenplay. I think it must have been last week. And I've got a lot of work to do for the second draft for it, which is really exciting. Unfortunately, I don't have time right now because I am going full speed ahead writing the North Star because that comes out in January. So I want to have it. I've got a date with the editor and proofreader and everything late next month for it to be done in time. So I'm about halfway through. So I will be doing a lot of writing over the next few weeks. I actually stopped for a while while I was working on the screenplay because I was having trouble juggling the two big creative jobs. So I put aside the novel, did the screenplay, and now I've picked up the novel again. And something wasn't working in it for me. I brought in a couple of characters, but they just seemed to be just hanging about in the background, which made bringing them in pointless. So I been thinking, I was thinking and thinking, what's going on there? Something is missing, and so I finally realized what I needed to do, and so I sat down. I've been writing. Whoa, I'm getting all woozy. Guess I'm on the right track. I get really woozy if I get this kind of yes from spirit, and I guess I'm on the right track with that because I suddenly feel woozy. But anyway, so I've been writing. I really want to say who the characters are, but I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read everything yet. I want to tell you all about it, but that's probably not sensible. But anyway, I'm really happy with how it's going now, and I'm really excited because I'm learning what's happening as I'm going along. So I'm basically the very first reader as well as the writer, which makes it much more interesting for me, which is another reason why outlining doesn't work for me because I don't know what I'm writing until I'm writing it. And if I did work out what was going on before I started writing the book, then I would, from experience, I've told the story to myself, and so writing the book would be a tedious job because I already know what's happening. I like the adventure of finding it out as I'm going. So that's how it works. And
Right.
that's what I'm going to be busy with over the next few weeks. And I've also started doing Otherworld journeying again, offering that a group healing journey once a week. Was going to be once every 2 weeks. Valerie told me I had to start out with once every 2 weeks. Find out how much time it took. See, that's how it works. So I did one last this week on Thursday, and it went really well. It was all just waiting for me to step into, which was nice because it's been a long time since I've done that sort of thing, and it worked amazingly. And so I renegotiated with Valerie, and we're going to do it once a week.
So what Katie Smith says, "Can you explain a bit more about the journeying?" Yeah, I was just about to ask the same question, so tell us about that, Kate. What's your format? How do you
Okay,
roll?
how do I roll?
Mm,
Um, so a lot of my practice is shamanic journeying. It's the thing that comes easily for me, stepping into trance and walking in the other worlds, and walking there with animal kin and spirit guides and things. And years ago, when I started doing that seriously, I was basically trained on my journeys in things like um, removing attached spirits and healing and um, just clearing away all the gunk that kind of accumulates on us just as part of daily life and things like that. And it was my guides in that realm, in the trance and in the other world, who taught me how to do all that for a long time. And that's a lot of what's included in my books. So, when I say walking in the other worlds, it's the same sort of thing that Morgan does. I'm thinking particularly, I think it's in The Singing, which is book 4, when Morgan teaches Winsome and Erin to do soul retrievals and things like that. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about.
yeah,
Uh, but the group healing journeys is a much smaller version of all of that, because I'm working with a small group. It's 4 to 6 people is optimal, and we we go to a place in the other world that I call the Isle of Healing, and there's a lot of dancing and celebrating that goes on, but there's also a little bit of healing, whatever each person needs. Sometimes it's just clearing away those extrusions, the gunk and the ickiness that attaches and weighs us down. Sometimes one of the people that I take with me, and we all just meet in spirit, and it's something that I do in trance. So while I'm doing this, the other people who have agreed to meet me just go about their whatever they're doing. Um, and sometimes they will show me a really prominent past life or something. When recently I had someone who just stood in front of me, and she showed me an Egyptian priestess, and just stood there, turn around. All of it, she was a um, ancient Egyptian priestess or something, and that's what she wanted me to see. So that's what, when I come back and I write it all down and send off the account of it. And there's usually um, things that people find relevant, symbolic,
yeah,
inspiring. And I really, really was missing that practical hands-on work, because that's the work that I write about in the books, but actually doing it as well. I was missing that. So I've begun doing that. Maybe one day when I'm not writing, 3 books a year or something, I will start doing the more in-depth healing journeys as well, because I quite miss that work too. And it's so valuable, particularly the soul retrievals, because we lose parts of ourselves as we go along.
mm,
Um, when there's trauma in our lives and things, often parts of us will get lost and get stuck back in that place of trauma. And soul retrieval is going into um, that realm of spirit, and retrieving that part that is lost or stuck,
mm,
and bringing it back so that we can move forward more whole in our lives, and it makes a big difference.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Kate, what you see, the person who you are healing, seeing also sees you. Is the other person aware?
They're not aware in their waking life. This is all done in spirit. So that aspect of themselves that comes on the journey with me is their spirit self, and there's interaction there. We're all into it together. We're doing things together. So, but but their waking self, back in this part of the world wouldn't be aware while I was doing it.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking, Anna? Mhm.
And
Yeah.
is there any sort of do you have a soundtrack playing, Kate, or is there any drumming, or what happens, or is it just silence?
It's a lot of people do, shamanic journey with drumming
Mm.
or rattling or all sorts of things like that. I have experimented with drumming and things, and I don't like it. I like quiet. I can't then if I have drumming going on, um, I find it distracting. So I actually do it in a quiet, dark room.
Oh, that's
Try and
interesting.
make the room as much cave-like as I can.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Mm.
I've just recently started doing a similar thing, in person. Um, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but, locally to me, it's about 10-minute drive, and in a hall, in a village hall, once a month, and I call it the Hedge Riders Circle because the hedge, is symbolically, the boundary between the worlds, you know,
Mhm.
so but I work with the drum because I love the drum. So I bang my drum and everybody lies down, or some couple of people sit because there's some people that find it too uncomfortable to lie down for too long a time. And basically, I just drum. I use a rattle first, and then I drum. I do some power singing because I think that can help. Because I love to use the voice to create the sacred space. I'm like you. I love holding sacred space, and I think what you do to create sacred space is very personal and individual, isn't it, to each person? But I like to sing, so I'll chant and I'll drum and I'll sing and then bang my drum for about 10, 15 minutes, and people will just go over the hedge. You know,
Yes.
they will cross the hedge however they want to. If they want to go up over it, they want to fly over it, they want to go underneath it, they want to go around it, they want to go through it. But either way, they will go, you know, to the other side of the hedge.
Yep,
And what
that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's
yeah,
exactly what I'm doing, hedge
yeah,
riding. I mean, there's
it's
lots
really
of names for it, isn't
yeah,
there?
it's the same thing, isn't it? It's that
Mm.
shamanic um working between walking between the worlds. But
Yes.
I've been loving it, and I've been having people that have never done it before. Like I had a couple of girls that came on, well, one lady that came on Monday night, and she had no idea. You know, I said to her, basically, this is the witch's version of shamanic journeying. You know, we go over the hedge. That's the only difference, really. You know, um, but and yeah, everybody experiences it so differently. And you know, I think it's important. What I like to say to people, you know, because we all share our everybody shares their experience afterwards if they want to, you know.
Mhm.
And I always say to them, don't try not to get too caught up in comparing yourself to other people, because some people will see things, you know, see things like on a screen. Other people will hear things. Some people will feel things on a physical level, while other people will just get completely off, you know, carried away in their heads. And yeah, so everybody experiences it so differently. But that's what I
Mm.
enjoy about it, is because it's different each time, you know.
Yeah, I've never been to a circle where someone is actually drumming. I would be interested to try that. I mean, I imagine that it could be quite amazing. And I do the same thing. I create a sacred space. So, um, create a sacred space before I do it. You know, within the room I am in, using smoke and ritual, basically. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm doing it on my own. So I've developed the way that works best for me. And when I'm traveling, which is what I called it in the book, because I like that word better than journeying. I think
Mm.
it's just a nicer word. Um, I it's for me. and I'm only talking for me because it, like you said, it's a different experience for everyone, and there's lots of ways to experience it. But for me, it's like I'm there. I'm no longer aware of my body back, sitting on the couch. Um, I'm in another place, and it's a full sensory experience for me, which is just. I think that's part of the reason I enjoy it so much is because it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I because I'm the facilitator, I seldom get the chance to actually experience the journeying or the traveling for myself, and I should really do that on my own because it would be easy to do. I mean, there are plenty of, things on YouTube you can just put on as a soundtrack, loads of
Mm.
drumming.
Yeah, I've
Um,
tried those. Yeah.
yeah, but I very much I like to experience something live, Um,
Well, that
uh,
has its own energy, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely. And like I say to people, although the shamanic journey, relatively speaking, the core shamanic journey is something that's only really been thought up in the last, what, how many years? 100 years, or maybe even less than that, because the traditional shamans would use things like singing and dancing and plant medicine, to travel to the other worlds.
Mhm.
It's only been relatively recently that we've had this shamanic journey practice, which people think, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to do a shamanic journey. But, Kate, you can alter your state of consciousness in any way you like, you
One
know.
of the ways I do it a lot without, doing a full-blown journey experience where I'm not conscious of me back here, is through dance, and that allows
Yeah,
me to bring the other world around me and to have a foot in both. And
yeah,
it's like you say, movement. I mean, core shamanism and that sort of journeying really started with Michael Harner. I don't know, well,
that's right. Yeah.
not that long ago.
Yeah. No,
With the
no.
experience of where you lie down and you close your eyes and someone drums you off. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really recently. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it would have been music and singing and dancing, and movement is really good because you lose your self-consciousness. And I think I harp on about this in the book. I think um, when Morgan is teaching Rue this, she makes Rue dance, and Rue's a, what, 16-year-old or a 17-year-old or something, and she says, "I don't want to dance." But the thing is that it makes you lose a certain amount of self-consciousness. So you become aware of you become embodied. You're aware of yourself on a level that's deeply grounded and, isn't thinking about everything that goes on, isn't thinking about, oh, I've got to get eggs when I go out shopping later. You're there where you are, and being within that movement within your body allows you to expand your experience. So I use dance a lot
Yeah.
for that. And I imagine you use singing and music.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love music. I love live music. I mean, when we're gigging and I'm singing on stage, I like to just get totally lost in it, because the thing when you start becoming too conscious of what you're doing, and that's happened to me a few times, I end up doing stupid things like forgetting the words, because
Exactly.
I'll suddenly bring myself. Um, so, yeah, it's about absolute immersion into that world that you're moving in, whatever it is. And just yeah,
Yeah, and we can actually do this sort of thing that I'm talking about, pretty much all the time if if we want to practice it. And what I'm really talking about, becoming embodied and then the world expanding, your experience expanding, is starts with getting out of your head. I mean, if we think about it, we've got different um, levels of focus, let's say. And a lot of us are tightly focused inside our head. So we're listening to our thoughts all the time. We're seeing the world through a filter of how does this affect me? What do I feel about it? What do I need from it? Um, but if we can quieten the voices in our heads, get rid of the ones that are bringing us down, that's saying all the mean and nasty things that they do tend to say to us. If we can quieten the voices in our heads, then we can expand our focus to a level where we're not just in our heads, but we're in our body as well and experiencing the world through that. And once we reach that sort of um, level of focus, then the world outside us, strangely enough, expands not just to the physical world, but the spiritual aspect starts coming in as well. And this is really hard to explain. But yeah, so basically, get out of your head into your body and move and look at the world without putting yourself at the center of it, without saying, what does this mean to me? What am I thinking about this? But just relax and experience it. And I think you better start saying something because I don't know how well I'm explaining this at all.
No, it's good, Kate. It's good. I mean, I was thinking there as you were saying that I had a conversation with somebody not that long ago. I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about things like, for example, I've got a 21-year-old son, my youngest son, who's into raving at the moment. Okay, so he's out raving in London at weekends. God knows what else he's doing, right? But and I mean, we've all kind of, well, I went through it when I was younger. I used to love going to clubs, love going to gigs. I still do. We went to a gig last week. It was brilliant. And but I said to this friend of mine, the thing is, we talk about shamanism and we talk about, we categorize things, don't we? We say, oh, this and this and this. But I see the clubbing scene, the raving scene, if you like, they are the modern shamans. Do you know what I mean? Aren't they? Because they
Well, one
go,
of the things that they're doing there is getting
yeah,
out of their head. They're
yeah,
experiencing life, experiencing the world around them in a different way, not inside their head, not this constant tight fist of thought all the time.
yeah.
And Anna says, can travel in and out, but without any constancy, and usually do it without a proper preparation. And I get out of there just as quickly as I got in, and then I get dizzy. Well, when you get dizzy, that's where you have a cup of tea and a biscuit. But the thing is, if you want to change that, you just have to get more intentional about it. And it's like anything, it's practice.
Yeah.
Katie says, I need to go on a rave, clearly. I think there are ways to dance without having to go out to a rave.
I don't know.
I hope, because I'm a bit old for that these days.
Or I don't know. I quite often think to myself when I see him going out in his car, I wish I could just get into the boot and and then when they get to the club, just get out and say, "Oh, hi guys, I'm coming with you." All right. I mean, no, that's ridiculous. But
There are
I
other ways as well. I mean, even just going for a walk. If you go for a walk and instead of thinking all the things inside your head, if you practice, I guess it's mindfulness. If But it's a notice things around you. What what's happening over there? What the trees look like, what the flowers look like, how things smell. Um, and then if you keep doing practices like that, you'll start to realize that when that couple over there walks past you, you not only notice what they're wearing, say, but you notice what their energy feels like
mm,
because you've expanded your level of focus from outside of your head wider and wider. And I think it's really useful because the world turns into this intentional and quite astounding place because you're seeing more of it and you're not being judgmental when you're seeing it, you're just experiencing it. So you're dialing down, you're thinking about everything, and you're just experiencing it and opening yourself to the energy of it. And you realize just through that sort of practice, walking, dancing, just whatever really, just practicing that focus, that the world is actually this really amazing place. And I'm sorry that we're screwing it up so badly, but to live like that, I think if we can all learn to live with seeing the world as it actually is, to seeing reality as so much bigger and deeper than than we tend to when we're inside our heads, then I think as a species we would be driven to look after it much better because we would be in this reciprocal relationship with it
Mm.
and aware of that relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because when you start to push your awareness, your consciousness, like you say, expand it, we're working with energy, aren't we? We're weaving the web. We're learning to. And you were talking about this before we came on air, about how somebody had spoken to you about talking about weaving the web or riding the web or something. Do you feel like
Mm.
you're there now? Could you talk about that?
Well, when I when I talk about the web and the box, what I'm really talking about is the energetic signature of reality. And I think, and I tend, because we have to give things ways to look at things, we have to give them words or symbols, we have to intellectualize it as
Mm,
humans so that we understand it more easily.
yeah,
And so that we can talk about it to each other. So when I talk about the web, it's really the energetic warp and weft of reality, what it's made of, what the world is, and the 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 flow of it, the flow of information that the world is made up. Reality is made up of information, and it's just, yeah, maybe I'm not quite there. But anyway, that's what it is. It's the energetic flow of reality. And
yeah, and
I tend to imagine it as a weaving because that's how we interact with it.
mm,
We are we step into the flow of this weaving of reality and become part of it.
yeah,
And if we're lucky, our path is in that flow.
yeah. I mean,
And
everything is vibration, isn't it?
mm,
And when you begin to realize that everything is, we're all energy and we all vibrate at different in different ways, but we gravitate towards, like attracts like. It's the law of vibration, and then you've got the law of attraction, but it's yeah, and that's where you find synchronicities then come in when we are, crossing paths with those who are like-minded, like on the same wavelength.
and
It's
I think you are absolutely spot on there, and you've made me think of something really important because it operates on this um, sort of law of attraction, like attracts like sort of thing. It becomes really important then to make sure that as we move through our lives, we do it with as much grace and integrity as possible, because what we give out in that way is what attracts back
get
in.
back. Mm,
And that's why when it comes to things like entity attachments and spirit possessions of whatever, that sort of thing, um, they mostly happen when you're wounded in some way, um, and when you've got untended wounds or untended thought processes
mm,
that sort of dig a deep tunnel, um, because you're thinking the same things over and over again and they're not healthy for you. And so, like attracts like in that way as well. You know, if you walk that sort of darker path within yourself, then that's what you're going to bring to you.
Mm.
So, unfortunately, we really do have to try and raise our vibrations.
Well, yeah, and nothing gives us more protection than a sound mind. You know, if we're sound
That's right.
in our mental space, then we're
Mhm.
not going to be so vulnerable to energies which are going to dominate or overpower us, because that's what happens, isn't it? When we're in vulnerable states and there's no protection because we're just, we're down on ourselves for whatever reason, or we're weakened by um big
Addiction.
emotions, yeah, or trauma of some kind, then we have nothing. We have no guard, we have no shield.
That's
And
right.
that's why I like to work with the warrior goddesses, like the Morrigan, because to me, she has taught me so much about psychic protection, you know, and working with the shield, with the sword, the sword craft. And it's all psychic. It's all psychic work. It's all magical work. But I love teaching the warrior woman sort of work. I used to do a lot of warrior woman workshops. That's something else that I need to get back into, I think, really. Oh no, hang on, I've got a book to write.
That's right, priorities. But
Well,
I agree. And, what was I going to say? I think and what part of what's happened in our world is that over the last few hundred years, we've moved from a viewpoint where the spiritual realm was a given, where, everyone used to go through lives thinking spirit was real, whatever form it took, to this materialistic reality where we're now taught everything has a material basic. The universe is made up of this and that, and it's all, things that could be seen or held or whatever. And the spiritual aspect of life has been sort of pushed aside, and we don't get brought up with that anymore. So, what we really have to do is to go right back to basics and realize deep down that we're not just flesh and blood. We're flesh and blood and spirit. What we are
mm,
is a soul having this experience. We've come to this place to experience a, a physical life. And that experience is supposed to be joyful. I do
mm,
believe it's fundamentally supposed to be joyful, but it also has limitations. And some of those limitations make it difficult for that soul part of us to retain certain things, like the knowledge that, there is more, particularly with, as I said, with the way that we're brought up. But if we can get back to basics and remind ourselves all the time that actually there's this other dimension to me that will carry on, that was around before this body was born, that will be around after it's died. And if we can use that perspective, then the world loses some of the fear that it holds for us, because in the end, everything's going to be all right.
yeah,
Particularly if we walk with grace. And by
yeah.
grace, I mean a bright and shining spirit. Does that make any sense at all to anyone?
It does. Of course it does. And that's why I think gratitude is such an important practice, an important spiritual practice, because when you are grateful for what you have, even if on a physical level, you might not have much money, you might not, things might be naff on a physical level, but you've got, but your spirit, you've still got your spirit, you've still got the non-visible, not the invisible part of you, that, like you say, goes on, lives on. Nothing ever
Mhm.
dies. Nothing really ever dies. The circle of life goes round and round. And we, yeah, I think it's an amazingly expansive and beautiful way to think about life in that way.
Mhm.
I and I'm sure you, Kate, because we've been on this path for some years now, and it's kind of that's the way I think. I mean, occasionally, you get jolted back into the physical plane. It's keeping the balance, but I
Yeah,
remind myself every now and again, hang on a minute, this is not all there is. This is not all there is. There are
that's
other
right.
places. There is another
And I
place.
think if you're starting out on this path, on this realization of the reality that our world really is, I think one of the best things that you can probably do is every day say to yourself, I'm spirit as well as body, and I have spirit guides. I have what do we call them? We call them spirit family. We have a team working with us. We might not be able to put our hands physically on them, but that they're there.
Mm,
There's more to our life than we can see um, materially. And just keep saying that to yourself every day, all the time. And doing that will allow you more easily to step into the flow of meaning here. And also, it will help you when things get tough because they generally always do.
yeah.
We have all sorts of things that we have to cope with: housing problems, financial problems, relationship problems, all these things. But if you can keep a bigger viewpoint
Mm,
and know that you're not alone, um, know that you're walking a path that will ultimately, help you along the way, it makes it easier and it makes life more beautiful, and you become more compassionate, which means your neighbor is happier. The people that you meet are brightened by your own light, and
mm.
it has a ripple effect. And that's what I want. I want that ripple effect. Let's all send out
Yeah.
those ripples.
Yeah, and living magically, as far as I'm concerned, is all about those reminders, being reminded, because it's why we have our magical tools all around us. It's why we have altars. It's why you know, because we like to be reminded of the magic.
Hmm.
And I am, and I when I come in this room every morning, I can get distracted by all the books and all the, I've sort of got a few oracle cards over decks over there, and I'll sit and that will be my practice. I light a candle, and I normally pick a card, and I'll do some
Hmm.
journaling, and that will get me in the space, make
Yes,
that connection to spirit,
that's
connection
your
to
reminder, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, and
Mm.
then if we're writing if you're lucky, which I haven't been for the last week because I've been so distracted that I've not written at all my story, but, if you're lucky, you're fortunate, and you continue that into your story writing, then it becomes, oh, even more magical, doesn't it? It just becomes even more magical because
Mm.
you're then working with characters that actually, and who's to say they're not real? Who's to say they're not real?
They feel real. But
Exactly.
even if you're not sitting down to write a book, if you go to work with that knowledge, you know that um, that you're part of this bigger reality, that you have a bigger reality, then smaller things aren't quite so annoying either. You're able to change your responses to things, um, so that you have compassion for the person who's being an ass.
Yeah.
Because, they're caught up inside their head for that moment, and it's not about you, it's not really about anything but them. So it gives you some necessary distance as well, to be able to say, well, that person is behaving like that, not because of what I'm doing. Sometimes you have to double check that. You
Mm.
have to double check what you're doing, how you're contributing to a situation. But, yeah, living it in this way allows you to make more considered responses to what's going on around you and to
Yeah.
choose how you respond to things. Doesn't mean you're not going to have your own feelings about things, but you're going to be able to choose your responses because there's that lovely little gap between um, what's happening and how you're responding to it. And inside that pause between what's happening and how you respond is where you remind yourself that there's a bigger picture, you're a bigger person. And so you act like a bigger person and you give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a way of living, isn't it? It's a whole way of living.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I find that as a reader, as an oracle reader, you know, which I don't do a lot of. I certainly don't advertise myself. I don't put myself out there now as a tarot reader, but I just trust that, you know, when somebody wants to come, they'll come. You know, whatever. Um, and that's always my intention with a reading is, well, it's not even my intention, it's just I don't even have to think about it. It's just what the work is about. It's about helping somebody else to see their lives from a spiritual perspective, you know, seeing with the witch eye view, you know, seeing with the magical world view of, and it's about, and I love it. I love being in that place where you can look objectively at somebody's energy and talk to them in terms of energy, but you have to tailor make it to fit in with their language, because sometimes you can't always sit there and talk about just energy. You know, we have to think about emotions and feelings and, like you say, relationships and but yeah, as psychics, as intuitives, as witches, as druids, whatever you like to call it, that we are energy workers, you know.
Hmm.
And I think one of the most important things is helping people. Well, I find anyway in my work, it's helping people to understand how to look after their own energy on an
For
energetic
sure.
level, you know.
Yeah, because that part of us gets neglected within
Yeah,
society as it is. And it's probably the most important part of us.
I
And
know. I
if
know.
we acknowledge it and tend to it, tend to our spirit, then the world
Yeah,
becomes actually a better place
yeah.
in our own experience and for collective experience as well.
Mm. I mean, we
Mm.
talk about we do all these things to protect ourselves physically. You know, we get on a motorbike, we put a crash helmet on. We get in the car, we put a seatbelt on. You know, we make sure that we look before we cross the road. These are all things that protect us physically. Um, it's just as important to protect our non-physical energy, our psychic awareness. And yeah, yeah, I mean, the difference I feel when I've been in a place like the last couple of months, I think I mentioned this last time, I've been doing a few um spiritual markets, you know, and there's been a lot of people. When you're with a lot of people in a day, and it can be the same for anyone that goes to work, kind of goes to work in an office or goes to work in a busy city or whatever, and they're traveling on trains and buses, and you're mixing with so many people constantly. You know, how you sort of clear your energy afterwards, how you protect yourself beforehand, during and afterwards. um is There's so many things you can do, isn't there? But yeah, it's, I mean, I always make sure that I'm wearing some sort of, you know, talismanic, symbolic thing around my neck, or I've got some kind of crystal on, or I'm carrying hagstones, or, you know.
Maybe I should do some more of that. I've as an introvert, um, I find get really drained from social situations, particularly, the more rambunctious, noisy ones. Um, to the when I get home afterwards, I feel really shaky, and that's even with the sort of trying to protect my energy and things that you do normally. So that's something that I'm struggling with because I actually want to go out and be more social, and
Yeah.
but I don't want to come home and feel shattered afterwards.
No, no. Yeah, you got to look after yourself. You got to look after yourself.
I
So what are
remember
you
I had a friend once years and years and years ago, and we used to meet for lunch once a week. And afterwards, I would come home and I would be so wiped out from just, a conversation with a friend that I would actually I'd have to go to sleep. So, um, there were it turned out, the friendship didn't work out very well, um, in the end, and I think the fact that I was so drained from it was a bit of a warning sign for that, but it was interesting that,
absolutely.
one person can make you feel so drained even when you're trying your best to protect your resources. So we do
Yeah,
have to be careful.
absolutely. Because, life is a constant exchange of energy, isn't it? And like
Yeah.
I say, when we're relating to other people on whatever level, we're exchanging energy with those people. And sometimes we can be relating to somebody, and unconsciously that person will be zapping our energy, without
Mm.
realizing it. And like you say, it's when you realize when that's happening, because you're actually drained. They've offloaded to you for whatever reason. They've taken from you, um, and yeah, and then you
I
have
think
to
it's
then you realize.
probably helpful actually to realize, when someone's doing that to you, because then it allows you to step back and reassess, is this actually the
Absolutely.
ideal situation for me to be in? What's going on here? And should I keep seeing that person?
Yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely. And
So,
and I was talking to somebody, in fact, it was my hairdresser the other day. You know how you have these intimate conversations with your hairdresser,
no,
and
I
she
don't know. I don't go to the
"Oh,
hairdresser.
don't you?" Well,
That's why it's so long.
funny. She's only a young girl. She's only about 25, but she's lovely, and we have a right and I think a lot of hairdressers are psychic, because if you think about it, they're standing very close to people, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Standing
Mm.
very close to somebody and cutting their hair. And and yeah, so I know it depends who it is, depends on the person, but and we always have great conversations, me and Gemma, and she was talking about a couple of her friends that she, just it, the relationships were floundering, and she was telling me why, and I sort of said to her, well, unfortunately, this is what happens even when you get to my age. I said there are still things that upset me. I like to think that, as I get older I get wiser, but there are still sometimes relationships you think, oh, that's a shame, that's not working out, for whatever reason. um and it happens, and it's disappointing and it's upsetting sometimes, but it happens. But when you realize, for whatever reason, it's not working out, um
Mhm.
it's for the right reason. It's because you don't need to be exchanging energy with that person anymore, because it's not doing you any good. It's upsetting you on some level. And but yeah, you'd like to think that as you get older you get to know quicker, you know don't get involved with people so soon. But that's what relationships are all about, aren't they? That they're a learning curve. They're lessons we learn through
Yep.
our relationships. And I think it's fascinating. People fascinate me. They fascinate. Um, but the whole energetic thing, when you start to read people at that kind of level, and you start to understand, and you operate at that level for most of the time, yeah, all the more important to be grounded, Kate. All the more
Yeah,
important to be grounded. Mm.
definitely. Does anyone have any questions before we come to an end? We've been talking an hour already.
My God, we've taken a deep dive, haven't we?
We did a bit, didn't we? Which was pretty good considering that when we came on, we hadn't had anything planned. Oh,
No, I
spring
was
here.
tired after working all day, and you were tired after getting up
Getting
early
up,
and
getting up in the morning.
yeah, yeah. I just must say before we go, I've just started reading or listening to The Belonging.
Oh,
So I
nice.
finished The Gathering, loved it, loved that book. And yeah, things are getting mysterious, um, aren't they?
Yes, they do a little.
Morgan's gone off on one. So I love Winston. I hope she features throughout the books because I love her.
She
And
does. She
I
was
love
only supposed to be in like one scene, and then she turned up in another scene and she just wouldn't go away. She just stuck around. I
yeah,
love her too.
I know, I
She's the
love
sort of person you want to have as a friend, really.
yeah, she's lovely, isn't she? Um,
Hmm.
so I love her. I love Erin. Um, and I love Stefan. I love all of them actually. The only ones I didn't like, which I'm glad that they've disappeared into the background, I suppose they'll come back in, are Erin's parents. I can't stand them. But I'm glad that you've got some characters like that because you know, that's a sign of a good book, isn't it? When you think, oh God, it's them again.
Yeah. Well, we have
There's
a few characters that will turn up like that.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, um, oh no, I can't tell you that.
What?
We
No.
do see Erin's parents again, with particularly her mother, and that was interesting. It's interesting when she turns up again, and I think it's in the singing. So yeah,
Oh, so they're not in it all through the belonging. They don't come back. Oh, really?
I don't think so. I don't think they come back until the singing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Because
Good.
Erin's got a lot of other stuff that she needs to do before then. But then eventually she does need to deal with her parents, like we all do in the end. You end up having to deal with things.
Mm,
And I think the way Erin deals with her mother um, says a lot about the way that she's managed to grow since she came to Wildgrove. Mm.
yeah. Well, I think she's certainly sort of grown quite quickly, actually, just through the first book. It
Well, she got
happened
chucked in
quite
the deep end, really, didn't she?
quick, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
For
Yeah.
sure.
No, I think it's great. I'm really enjoying them, Kate. So well done. And good luck with your writing of the North Star, finishing that. You got how much you got left? Another half
I'm about
you
halfway through. Yeah. So that's a good. I should be able to do that within the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the most. Mm.
right. Thank you. Anna, Helen says thank you. Pleasure, Helen. Anna Louis says the singing. I think this is an absolutely great topic to discuss next time. The singing, what the book, or what happens
The
in the
thing,
singing? Is it a
what
practice?
happens in the singing? Yeah, because a lot of the storyline in the singing is Erin dealing with Veronica, her mother,
Ugh,
and
really?
mm,
Is that the
yeah,
fourth, third or fourth?
that's the fourth book. The theme is really the realizing that we all have our own stories and see the world through our own subjective experiences, and giving that we have to give people room to have that, where we can't judge their actions according to our own um, experiences and ideas about what we think that person should be. We need to stop and put that space in and realize that they act the way they do because of their own experiences.
Mm,
So we have to give them space to have those and to realize that that's where they're coming from. They're not coming from the same place as us. They're coming from their own path,
yeah.
and that path might be quite different. So we have to give them room for that.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
that's where maturity comes in, isn't it, really? Spiritual maturity, because you have to you
exactly.
you you have to understand people, you don't always know, it's very quick to sort of say to the person that, nearly cut you up as you were taking a left turn or something, um, it's easy to swear and rage and say, but I mean, my husband's very good at saying this to me. You don't know what that person's had to deal with this morning, and because we can be quick to react and judge, can't we? But yeah, just being a bit more compassionate does help.
Anna has just corrected me with what she meant. She said it's what is the singing, how to sing something or someone, how to evolve them and gently weaving them. That's definitely a discussion for next time because
Oh,
I think we're pretty much out of time already.
I shall look forward to that. We'll put that on the list for next time then, Kate. Or if
I will
not,
make
if we forget, Annie, you'll have to remind us.
That's right.
And
Mm. Thank you, everyone, for coming along today.
yeah,
It's
thank you for coming, everybody.
I'm really thrilled with how much everyone is enjoying these chats, and I find myself looking forward to them very much.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I will have a little bit of news next time we come on. Oh, hang on, it won't be 2 weeks. It will be 3 weeks, Kate, because I'm going
Yes,
away.
because you're off on a grand adventure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to California. So I'll come back and tell you all about it, everybody. So I think
That'd be wonderful.
yeah, so it'll be oh, I can't think, but about 3 weeks. We'll put it out there anyway and let you all know. And yeah, take care of yourselves. And in the meantime, if you've got any suggestions, I know Anna's already sort of suggested a topic. No doubt that will take us most of the time next time because we tend to dive deep. But if there's any other suggestions people want us to anything at all, thank you so much. I've been listening and baking a few batches of biscuits. I
I
love
do
it.
like biscuits.
I can smell it from here, Marta. I can smell them from here.
Valerie and I are on a new diet because that's what she needs to help get her health back. So no biscuits for me for a while.
Oh
We're
no.
completely grain free.
Okay.
No cake, no biscuits, just
Oh God.
vegetables.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Kate. Oh
Doing
look,
well so far.
yeah, well done. Katie's been making chocolates all day. Oh, lovely.
Oh, stop it.
Stop it.
I haven't even had breakfast yet.
Oh God. Okay, I've been listening to Sheena's podcast, learning a lot. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Marta. Yeah, great one coming up next week. Good. Well, they've all been great guests recently, but yeah, good one coming up. Thank you for saying that. Wonderful. Okay, right. Kate and I are off then, everybody.
All
Take
right.
care of
Have a
yourself,
blessed week, everyone.
and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.